Hello and welcome to Access Sportsnet. Lakers driven by your Southern California Honda dealers. I'm Chris McGee, James Worthy, Robert Ory. Allie Clifton's going to join us in a little bit. For the next hour, we're going to get through this together. The Lakers lose again. They are now 2-8 since the All-Star break. 5-15 in their last 20 games. 5-15 in their last 20. Fellas, for the first time this year, 10 games under 500. Big game, James. Tough stretch.
Yeah, and you know, we could run the tapes from previous shows, and we're going to be saying the same thing pretty much. A back-to-back game, Rob pointed out, they're already a little bit behind the eight ball. Toronto coming in here, you know, having beaten some really good teams, including Phoenix and Denver. And they just, you know, once again, a tough first quarter. You get down the way they did. I'm not sure what it was, but they were down, I don't know, 26-6 or something like that at one point. And from that point, you're playing catch-up. And it takes a lot of energy to, you know, put a dent in the lead. And they don't have enough personnel to keep fighting out of those ditches that they get themselves in. And they couldn't shoot the ball from the field or the three. And not moving the ball enough. They ended up with, you know, enough 20 assists, but I think they only had like 7 or 8 or 9 or something. So same old story. Just don't have enough personnel, and they dig too big of ditches that they can't get out of.
You know, for me, you look at this game, it's okay. We always talk about offense, but defensively, they didn't play good defense. They gave up 36 free throws. They didn't rebound well. It's a lot of little things like that. That's all energy and effort. I know Allie always talks about that. That's her claim to fame, energy and effort. But when you have guys that go out here and you can't play defense, you foul it, and James, we talk about it all the time, all the switching. I think if they go out and say, you know what, take it upon yourself to stop this guy tonight. Stop switching, because it's putting them in a hole, because a lot of these guys are too fast or too small to guard these guys, and they're taking advantage of these mismatches. So they have to come together defensively, I think, to try to get out of this hole. And it's not always about offense. You got to play some defense sometimes to win basketball games.
Switching softens up your defense. If I know I'm going towards Rob and I know I'm gonna switch, I'm not going to work as hard. So there are certain players that you have to switch on, but I think you know, the NBA period has turned into a lot of switching, and teams that do it well, they're locked in. But it makes you soften up a little bit if you know you don't have to fight over a pick and it's going to switch. You know, but I don't know what the Lakers' problem is. They just don't have the personnel to defend when they go small. Even a guy like Siakam was able to, you know, play big and take advantage of them down low, take them in the paint. They're not used to it. They're not used to defending without AD or Dwight back there. So it's going to be hard to do.
Yeah, I mean, you guys bring up the personnel. I mean, we get asked all the time, whether it's through social media or people we talk to, what happened to this Laker defense? I mean, they were the #1 defense for the last 2 years. Well, this is a different team.
Totally different team.
That's the bottom line. So your schemes and what you want to do, it's not working.
Well, I mean,
and that's just the truth, right? I mean,
Pope and Caruso could switch because they were playing good defense. You know, when a lot of that meat of the defense is no longer here. Yeah. So when you bring in new personnel, and that's the first thing you got to start working on. And, you know, they didn't really do a great job of prepping in preseason. They were kind of waiting for things to get started, and they had all these new players, and then the injuries came, and before you know it, they were way behind the eight ball, no practice time. And so this is where they find themselves, you know, here in March.
I want to show you guys this. For the last 2 games, okay, back-to-back nights, here's what happened in the first quarter. And I think that's the most deflating thing, because no matter how you play the rest of the game, it's catch-up the whole way, and you almost have to play a perfect, flawless game. Look at this with Phoenix and Toronto. Back-to-back nights, they gave up 81 points combined in the first quarter. They were outscored 81-34, Rob, in the first quarter. That's a -47 if you're keeping track at home. Lakers 1 for 25 from 3 in the last 2 games in the first quarter combined, -30 in that department. They shot just 12% in the first quarter this game. So, Rob, that's given up a lot of points and really, like I said, just impossible to play that perfect game to be able to come back. I mean, Lakers got it to 9. They had a couple shots to get it to 6, but man, you're playing uphill the whole time.
Yeah, you're playing uphill. And I also wish what was in that stat is the number of times they go to the free throw free throw line. Because if you think about that, that was what 23 threes they took in the first quarter.
Yep.
In the first game, that's a lot of threes.
25.
Yeah,
25.
So it's a lot of threes for a team. You got to be aggressive sometimes. When you know your shots aren't falling, every great player that's played this game who can shoot threes. Even Steph Curry, when he's not knocking on his threes, which is rare, he goes to the rack, try to get layups to try to get himself going. I don't see that many Laker players when that three-gamer is not knocking, they're like, you know what, they're bullheaded. It's, you know what, I'm going to keep shooting until I knock one down. Let yourself see one go through the hoop. And we don't have that mentality. We don't try to go to the hole and get free throws. We stay strong-minded and say, oh, we're going to knock down threes. And you can't do that. You got to get buckets. I don't care what nobody said. This game of basketball is about getting buckets. You get buckets no matter if it's a 1, a 2, or a 3, you get it.
First quarter, James, getting punched like that, what does that do for a team's, I don't know, mentality, for their just overall vibe?
My question is, what are your pregame preparations that you come out in the first quarter and get knocked around like that? You know, what's your mindset? You see what Toronto has been doing. They beat the Phoenix Suns. They beat Denver. You know they can play. They got a really nice lineup that's versatile. So what's your mindset before the game to come out and get down like that? You're not ready to play. That's what if that's what I see. Yeah. You're not ready to start a game. It takes getting down 15, 20 points. Oh, now all of a sudden you're ready to play. Can't do that. You got to be ready to play from jump. And you at home, you can't have deficits like that. That gives teams as soon as Toronto got that big lead, it was over. They knew they had you because the Lakers, in addition to that, they have a reputation now of not playing defense, of letting you back in the game. So all that comes into play. I know it was a back-to-back game, but you got to be ready to play at the beginning of the first quarter.
Listen, the Eastern Conference is tough. I don't know what kind of splash they can make, but this young Raptors team has put themselves in position to compete a little bit, especially in that first round. They're 4-1 on this road trip. I looked at them tonight. Siakam, Trent Jr., rookie Scott Barnes, they're all over 20. Starters all in double figures. They come at you with that lineup where everyone's about 6'8". So they can play you physical, they can play you small, but they're bigger than you. They do a nice job.
And I think they exploit the weaknesses, and that's what you have to think about it. They went, for the first quarter, they went to their rookie, Scotty Barnes, who had, I think, 17 points or 14 points or something like that in the first quarter.
15 in the first quarter.
Yeah, he was going at those guys, and, he's like, I'm a rookie. I'm on the first time in L.A. I'm going to show these people what I can do. He came out and he played. And there was all points in the paint. And sometimes we talked about before the game how teams have been trying to exploit the Lakers with their bigs, and you have to be able to. I remember when LeBron was down in the block, scoring on the block, the Lakers looked so good because he was able to collapse the defense and kick it out. But now everything is drive and kick, drive. They're kicking guys who are taking contested threes. It's one more swing or drive yourself and try to get a left. And this is the thing that's kind of frustrating when you watch this Lakers team because you never know what you're going to get out of them each and every night.
Yeah, there's no definite formula for this team. You look at teams that are playing well, they have a system, CP3 out, Phoenix still, it still flourishes. I remember down in Memphis when Ja was out, they still won 7 games in a row, 7, 8, 9 games, because the system is still in play. Teams that aren't that great this year, San Antonio, they just plug in players because the system is working. The Lakers never developed that. They had it when they, last year when they, really good at defense. They had something they could, get bank on. They got nothing they can bank on. I mean, it comes from game to game. I know there's a lot of different lineups, but we don't know what they're going to do. We don't know if they're a good defensive team. We don't know if they're a good offensive team. We don't know what they pride themselves on.